"Get out of here! You're useless!" the manager yelled, and everyone laughed, not knowing the girl they just mocked was secretly the daughter of the richest biker in America. Maya kept her head down as the laughter echoed through the garage. Her coveralls were smudged with oil, her hands trembling from hours of scrubbing engine grease that wasn't even hers to clean. The mechanics loved to bully her, the small girl with big brown eyes who never fought back. "Go make yourself useful, coffee girl," one of them sneered, tossing a dirty rag at her. She smiled faintly and picked it up. "Yes, sir." What they didn't know, what none of them knew, was that Maya Reed wasn't just some nobody mechanic's helper. She was the only daughter of Jack Ironheart Reed, the billionaire biker who vanished from the public eye 10 years ago after selling his empire. People whispered about him. Some said he went rogue, others said he was dead. But only Maya knew the truth. Her father didn't disappear. He hid to protect her. And now, years later, she'd come here, undercover, to find the man responsible for destroying her father's name. That man was sitting right upstairs in a glass office, shouting orders into a phone. Richard Kane, owner of Kane Motors, the company that once belonged to her father. The same man who stole it when Jack was framed for crimes he never committed. Maya's plan was simple: stay invisible, gather proof, and when the time was right, expose him. But hiding wasn't easy, especially when everyone treated her like trash. She was sweeping the floor when she heard two workers whispering near the tool racks. "Boss says Ironheart's dead. Good riddance." The old man ruined himself. Maya froze, gripping the broom so tight her knuckles went white. That night, when everyone left, she sneaked into the back office, heart pounding. She found a locked drawer with her father's old logo scratched off the files inside. But before she could open them, a voice behind her made her blood run cold. Well, Richard Kane said, stepping out of the shadows. "The little janitor thinks she's a spy." Maya turned slowly. "I'm just cleaning, sir." He smirked. "You've got your father's eyes. You know that." Her stomach dropped. "You knew my father?" Kane's smile turned dark. "Oh, I knew him. I'm the reason he lost everything." Maya's breath caught. He stepped closer, voice dripping with venom. "He thought he could take what was mine. But I always win, sweetheart. Always." He reached out to grab the folder from her hands, but before he could, the sound of rumbling engines filled the night outside. Headlights flashed through the windows, one after another, until the entire lot glowed white. Kane turned toward the door. "What the hell?" And then the gates burst open. A line of black motorcycles rolled in, their riders dressed in leather and steel. At the front was a man with a gray beard, eyes that burned like fire, and a vest that read Iron Brotherhood. Maya dropped the file in shock. The man on the lead bike took off his helmet. It was her father. The room went dead silent. Kane's smirk vanished as the man he'd buried a decade ago walked straight through his glass doors like a ghost who'd come for revenge. Jack Ironheart Reed, older, rougher, but alive, stood tall in his leather vest, his boots dripping with rain. Behind him, the rumble of bikes faded into a tense, eerie quiet. "Hello, Richard," Jack said calmly, his gravel-deep voice echoing across the room. "You still like stealing from people who trust you?" Kane stumbled back, pale as a sheet. "Why? You're supposed to be dead." Jack smirked. "Yeah, I get that a lot." He turned slightly toward Maya. "And you must be the one who's been cleaning up this dump." Maya's eyes filled with tears. "Dad?" she whispered, her voice breaking. Kane's confusion turned to fear. "Dad? Wait, she's your daughter." Jack's eyes hardened. "You made her scrub floors in the same building I built with my hands. You made her believe she was nothing." He stepped closer, voice dropping low. "You took everything from me, Richard. My company, my friends, my life. But what you didn't take was my blood." Kane backed up until his legs hit the desk. "Listen, Jack, we can make a deal." "There's no deal," Jack snapped. "There's only truth." He turned to Maya. "You came here to find justice, didn't you?" She nodded, tears running down her face. "I wanted to clear your name." Jack gave her a proud, sad smile. "You just did." With that, he dropped a flash drive on Kane's desk. "Every record you deleted, every bribe, every false report, I got them all. You hid your crimes under my name. Now the world's gonna see who you really are." Kane lunged forward, trying to grab the drive, but Jack slammed his hand down on it, pinning it in place. "You ruined enough lives," he growled. "It ends tonight." Outside, The bikers surrounded the building. The rumble of their engines grew louder, like thunder promising justice. Kane's phone rang, but before he could answer, one of the bikers kicked open the office door and tossed a newspaper onto the desk. The headline read, "Ironheart Reed Alive, Exposes Billionaire Fraud." Kane's mouth fell open. "No, you can't." Jack leaned in close, voice cold as steel. "I already did." The police sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder by the second. Kane stumbled back, shouting, "You'll go down too." Jack shook his head. "I went down once. Now I rise with her." He turned to Maya. "Let's go home, kid." As they stepped outside, the Iron Brotherhood parted to let them through. Maya looked around. Tough men with tattoos, scars, and leather vests, all bowing their heads slightly to her. She glanced at her father in awe. "They follow you." Jack smiled faintly. "No, they follow what I stand for. Honor, loyalty, and now you." Maya blinked. "Me?" He nodded. "You're Ironheart's daughter. And you just brought down a billionaire without firing a bullet." As the police swarmed the building behind them, the bikers revved their engines in victory. Maya climbed onto her father's bike, wrapping her arms around him. "I thought I lost you." Jack looked over his shoulder. "You never did. I was just waiting for you to be strong enough to find me." And when the engines roared to life and the sun rose over the city, every headline carried the same story. The girl they called useless turned out to be the heir to the Iron Brotherhood. Because sometimes, the ones the world laughs at end up rewriting its story. The next morning, the news spread like wildfire. Every TV channel, every newspaper, every phone notification carried the same headline. Jack Ironheart Reed returns. Daughter exposes billionaire fraud. In every garage and diner across the country, bikers cheered. But while the world celebrated, Maya sat quietly on the porch of the old Reed Ranch, her father beside her. The silence between them wasn't heavy. It was peaceful, filled with everything they didn't have to say. She finally broke it. "You watched me all these years, didn't you?" Jack exhaled, his gaze on the rising sun. "Every step. You think I'd let my little girl grow up without eyes on her?" Maya smiled faintly. "Then why didn't you tell me the truth?" He turned to her. "Because the world had to see you fight, not as my daughter, but as your own person. You were meant to prove something bigger than my name." Her eyes softened. "And what's that?" Jack smiled, rough and proud. "That strength doesn't come from money, or power, or fame. It comes from the ones who've been laughed at and kept standing anyway." Down the road, the sound of engines echoed. The Iron Brotherhood arrived, led by Raven, Jack's oldest friend. "We're all here, boss," she said. "Kane's in custody. The company's frozen. The name Reed is clean again." Jack nodded, then looked at Maya. "No, it's not my name anymore." He handed her a small black key, old, scratched, and marked with a silver R. "This is the first bike I ever built. It's yours now. So is the company." Maya blinked, speechless. "Dad, I don't know how to run an empire." Jack laughed softly. "You already do. You rebuilt one, from inside a garage, with no name, no help, and no reason to believe you could." The bikers gathered around as Maya stood, holding the key. The sun hit her face just right. Strong, calm, fearless. For the first time, they didn't see the useless girl who cleaned floors. They saw a leader. Raven smirked. "You really are Ironheart's daughter." Jack put a hand on Maya's shoulder. "No," he said proudly. "She's better." The engines roared to life again, shaking the earth beneath them. Maya turned to her father one last time. "You think Mom would be proud?" Jack's eyes glistened. "Kid, she's already smiling." As they rode out together, father and daughter, side by side, the road ahead seemed endless. The sun cut through the clouds, lighting their path like destiny itself. And for everyone who ever called her useless, the sound of those engines became the answer that thundered across the horizon. Weeks passed, but the story of Maya Reed didn't fade. It only grew louder. Reporters camped outside her company gates, cameras flashing, shouting questions about Ironheart's daughter. She ignored them all. She didn't want fame. She wanted purpose. Inside the glass tower that once belonged to her father, Maya walked through the halls that used to feel like cages. Now, they felt like freedom. Mechanics who once called her useless lowered their eyes when she passed. She didn't fire them. She didn't even scold them. She simply said, "Grab your tools. We've got engines to build." That's what made her different from every billionaire before her. She wasn't chasing power. She was rebuilding something that had been broken for too long. That night, as the last workers left, Maya stood alone in the factory. Her father walked in quietly, holding 2 cups of coffee. "Still working, huh?" he said with a smile. She looked up at him. "You built an empire, Dad. I'm just trying to make it right." Jack set down the coffee and leaned against the railing. "You already did. You gave it a heart again." He looked down at the garage floor, the same spot where he once taught her how to hold a wrench when she was little. "You know," he said softly, "I spent half my life proving I was the toughest man alive. Turns out, my daughter did it better without even trying." Maya laughed through the lump in her throat. "I had a good teacher." The sound of engines echoed outside. The Brotherhood had arrived again, their headlights flickering like stars in motion. Raven stepped in, holding a brown envelope. "News just came in. King confessed to everything. Every fraud, every lie. The government cleared your dad's record." Maya's eyes filled. She looked at Jack, who simply smiled. "Told you truth doesn't stay buried." As the Brotherhood filled the building, the walls that once hid greed now echoed with laughter, clinking bottles, and stories of loyalty. Jack raised his glass. "To the daughter they called useless," he said, voice strong, "who turned shame into strength and silence into thunder." Everyone cheered, engines revving outside like applause from the heavens. Maya smiled through tears. "No, Dad," she said, lifting her glass. "To the man who never stopped believing, even when the world stopped believing in him." They toasted, father and daughter, surrounded by the sound of loyalty, redemption, and steel. That night, as they rode into the horizon, leather vests glinting under the moonlight, Maya looked up at the stars and whispered, "Mom, we did it." Because sometimes the world calls you useless right before it learns your worth. If this story touched your heart, share it. Because kindness doesn't always wear a smile, and heroes don't always wear uniforms. Sometimes they walk in covered in dust, carrying stories that could change your heart forever.